players, the personalities who come from around the world to play professional soccer in the United States.
Go, go, USA! Oh, it's incredible!
In a world where some call it football, football, or soccer, they dare to call it foosball. One thinks New York is blue. The other thinks New York is red. Soccer in America from a German perspective. Let them put some sauerkraut on your hot dog and join them for the Schnitzel Boys USA Hour.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Schnitzel night. Hello, Bjorn. How are you?
Oh, very stops very abruptly. Okay. Yeah.
It does.
Here we are.
We're still fetzing with it, but I wanted to get right in the show a little faster.
No,
so
that's very nice.
We promised you
it.
all.
We're going to put some mustard on your. What are we doing? We're putting some bun on your bun in your oven.
Bun on your hamburger. Put some buns on a hamburger because this is the German American Hour. Now, I did some research on hamburgers. That's like an old misnomer, you know. Because, first and foremost, I just want to say we got some new intros. Yay!
Yay! Good job, Stefan.
Thank you. I promised them months ago. Better late than never. We finally got them.
We are many things here at the Schnitzel Boys, but fast is not. We've never been called that.
No. Our turnover's not amazing. We got said by S. The New York Red Bulls definitely not making the playoffs. They're getting right to the point after that Philly Union performance. Isn't that Philly Union performance 2 weeks old now? We talked about it last week, I think. Yeah, definitely not.
Well, still not making the playoffs. Well, I mean, big game.
Intros.
Sorry.
What was I saying? Oh, hamburger.
Ah, yes. You have things to say about the America's national food.
Well, but there's an old misnomer, or from when I was a kid, hamburgers. I was like, oh, that's from Hamburg, Germany. Hamburgers from Hamburg. Now, Bjorn, you tell me, how big in Germany, growing up, how big a food culture in Germany is related to cows and steak?
Oh, not very. No, it's
none of it,
pork.
right?
Mostly pork. Yeah,
mostly pork. So, as an adult,
I didn't know of a hamburger until McDonald's arrived in my town, which was, I don't know, I was like 10 maybe.
Oh, you remember a McDonald's showing up?
Oh yeah, very much so. Yes, that was a big deal, because it was like a fancy thing, not fancy exactly, but exotic, and it was like a special occasion kind of place. We would go to McDonald's. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, I used to go as a kid. I loved it.
And I remember the first. Yeah. Definitely. I remember the first one opening in my town. That was a big event. Yeah. And then it became sort of a hangout, especially for teenagers. It became like a hangout. Spent a lot of time there. Yeah.
And then, I don't know, was the menu, did you remember items on that menu that were different from the average things you'd think about from McDonald's? When I was in Germany in the summer of 2000, the whole ad campaign, it was on the radio all the time, was like, McDonald's is Caribe or something. And they had all these shrimp products at the McDonald's. And, in the United States, we never had shrimp.
I, at the time, had not been to the U.S., so I didn't have anything to compare it to. Later on, it's all the things that John Travolta talks about in Pulp Fiction that you also then notice yourself, like there's beer at McDonald's in Germany. That's not a thing,
right?
In the U.S.
What was a quarter pounder called then? Because there's now
no. That was called. They changed it though. Initially it was called a Viertelpfünder.
Well, that is what it literally is.
A Viertelpfünder. But I think, unlike what John Travolta thinks, it's not. I think it wasn't about the metric system. I think it's more about them not consistently being able to deliver at least a quarter pound of actual beef. Like I think it was like it opened them up to potential consumer complaints where they're like, "Oh, this is short of a." I think they just call, they were just like, "Oh, let's just call it the Royale."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, German consumer laws are maybe a little better, so they can. There's a story of some sort of restaurant, I forgot what it was, introducing a third pounder to compete with the quarter pounder, and the general consensus was people thought it was smaller
Oh,
because
interesting.
3 is a lower number than 4, but the concept,
Oh, yeah.
but they didn't put 2 and 2 together.
This
on
was
average.
a joke that they made about Jürgen Wegmann. Jürgen Wegmann. Do you remember who Jürgen Wegmann was? He was
No.
a striker. I think of Rot-Weiß Essen originally, but then played for Dortmund. And he had the reputation of not being the sharpest tool in the shed. And there were he had some quotes and that were memorable. And one of them was that they asked him about his contract negotiations, and he said they offered him a third. He said they offered him a third more, and that wasn't enough. He wanted at least a fourth.
That's like a Polish joke, pretty much.
Yeah,
Something like that.
No, but yeah. Anyway.
But so the hamburger steak. So I googled it. I'm like, what is this? There's no steak in Germany. What is this nonsense? So it's one of those things where it's like, you know how there's a brand of chocolate from Wisconsin called German chocolate.
Yeah, that's cake. I think we've talked about that. The German.
Talk about that, right?
I've definitely been through that where people were like, "Oh, German chocolate cake." I was like, "I've never seen anything like this ever." And it turns out the guy's name is German, and it refers to the chocolate made by this guy. It has nothing to do with the country.
Wait a minute. I didn't hear that part. I just assumed it was a chocolate from like a German community in the Midwest.
No, it's the guy. The guy's name was German. Oh. Somebody German.
His name was Argentina German, but they went with German chocolate. But no, hamburger steak is like very similar. German.
Okay, I'm gonna look this up while you
look it up. While I talk about hamburger steak. So it's different in that it's not some guy named Hamburger. That's different. It's a type of meat. I think originally from Chicago. And it was called a hamburger steak because it was like, I guess someone thought it was in the style of a bunch of these dudes from Germany. And so it was like a hamburger steak, so they called it.
What? It was in the style of who?
Originally, it's called a hamburger steak. It's 100 years ago. I think we're talking Chicago area. Yeah.
Okay.
And that there was a huge German and East European immigration situation going on over Chicago at that time. And I think the hamburger steak originated from those communities, but it does not originate from Hamburg, Germany. It originates from like German immigrants that have moved here to the farming community, and they made and I guess someone referred to it as a hamburger style steak because maybe someone got it wrong, or because people from Hamburger, that's how they cut up a cow when they moved here. You know what I'm saying? It's not like in Hamburg a hamburger steak was a big deal. That's an American thing. So and then someone put buns on it, and it became an American hamburger. An American thing. And here in Los Angeles, they claim that they invented the cheeseburger. I don't know how real that claim is, but there are a lot of burger spots around here, and they love the fact that they claim the cheeseburger. Anyway, so when people say, "Oh, hamburgers from Hamburg, Germany," that's just, I think, a bold-faced lie. That's just historical misrepresentation.
Right.
It's an American thing from America.
A common misconception is that German chocolate cake comes from Germany. In fact, the name comes from American baker Samuel German, who developed a type of dark baking chocolate in 1852.
What a great marketing tactic.
German. Yeah, my name is especially right at certain parts.
Oh, see, that part I didn't know. Yeah. I knew it was not real. The German. I knew it was not like German chocolate.
Samuel German. I couldn't remember this guy's name.
I just assumed it was from like a German community in Wisconsin, and they're like kind of like the whole pickle thing.
No, it was one guy and his chocolate.
We talked about the pickle before, right? The German American prank, where there's my mom was given a pickle as a present once, and she's like, "Oh, here's a pickle. I hear it's a huge German tradition to put a pickle on your tree." My mom was like, "Okay." She's like, "I've never heard of this tradition." And then she called her friends back home. She's like, "Have you ever heard about a pickle on a tree?" They're like, "No." Germans are like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And then I Googled it. Turns out like 100 years ago, a big Macy's style department store in the Midwest had all these pickles they needed to get rid of. These like pickle ornaments.
Hmm.
And then they said it was a German tradition as a prank, quote unquote. They lied pretty much. And it became known in certain circles in the Midwest from Americans. They now think it's a German tradition to put the pickle on your tree, but it's entirely made up by this Midwestern department store. Germans have never heard of that.
Sorry.
So
What?
yeah, wait, what?
What?
So my mom accepted it. Now she puts a pickle on her tree every year.
Oh, so she's making it real. So now it is a thing.
Yeah, she's funny.
Now
As
no
an
longer,
homage.
the people are no longer wrong.
No,
I
so it's
see, Mom.
becoming a German tradition.
That is
here.
very kind and polite of her.
Yeah, it's a really nice looking. She's like a ceramic pickle. Anyway, Seba S. Bjorn, are you going to NYC versus Red Bulls game? I think I might have priced like $80.
Oh,
Are you going to
$80?
the?
Oh, you want to sit with the supporters? So the supporters.
Wait a minute. Where's it
Tickets
$80 anywhere?
I know that's weird.
no one-
Is it?
Because is this
Because you want to
Arena?
sit with support? No, it's at Yankee Stadium, I believe. Right? I haven't checked. I'm planning on going. I have to perhaps miss it. But I don't know. I'm hoping to go because of the early kickoff. I was going to go to Vermont, but it's an early kickoff at 3:30. So the answer is I don't know yet, but I'm hoping to. I mean, I'm hoping to on the one hand. On the other hand, I'm also a little over these derbies.
2 tickets from my friend. Even that aren't supporters tickets $20? Or am I wrong? I'm sort of.
I don't
talking
know
from
what the
old
Red Bull
school.
are doing for NYCFC. It's usually cheap, although they do sell. Yeah, they're not expensive. They often sell out for the derby games.
Yeah, there's not enough seats. At
I'm
Yankee
sure
Stadium.
I'm sure you can do better than $80. It's at it's at Yankee Stadium. They open the upper deck now. It's got to be able to find something cheaper.
Oh yeah.
Just see where the supporter section is and
Email
then
Viking Army.
Get something
Email.
adjacent. Get something adjacent. Because those
Email.
they always put them in the upper deck. There's got to be seats there.
Email the Viking Army. They probably have special supporters tickets. I'm sure they're $20, $25. That would be my.
But this
That would be
is
my
this
two
is the playoff. This is the playoff final. This game, no? Like whoever
No.
loses. I mean, we're both not going to make it. Is the
Yeah.
truth.
Doesn't matter what happens. It's
Is
lame.
the truth. Doesn't matter what happens. But really, whoever loses really doesn't make it.
Yeah, but then whoever wins also really doesn't.
Also doesn't make it. Probably.
I just want everyone yelling "lame duck, lame duck." It's the lame duck derby, which means this game doesn't really matter. I mean, there is still a chance for either team to make the playoffs. Obviously, it's not all is lost, but it's been a pretty sad state of affairs in general. Inter Miami won over the weekend without Lionel Messi. They're gonna charge. They're only 1 point behind.
They're
me
really
and 2
they
points
were
behind you, right? So
they have my quote in the locker room before every game that they're not going to make the playoffs. Bjorn Schnitzel said we're not making the playoffs, and this is motivating them every time.
They have a cardboard cutout of you, and with a quote bubble saying that they're not going to the playoff. Every time they win, they take a piece of clothing off the cardboard cutout, just like out of Major League. You know that movie Major League?
Well, that's exciting. I mean, this is.
So there's going to be a naked cardboard cutout of you by the end of the season, and the players are just like, "What's our motivation for that? We don't keep the clothes on."
I think that would have the opposite effect. They would then lose every game in order to not see more revealed of my body. Anyway.
Seba S, $96 for me. Well, everything's
96 for 2 tickets.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
2 tickets. Yeah, it's more.
I still think if you go on StubHub, I think you can get resale tickets for less. Look again. Look on StubHub and tell us what you find.
StubHub. And like I said, maybe I don't know if you have your email the Viking Army, see if they got supporters tickets for you. But yeah, I mean, everything's expensive. We had the big news in USA Hour. We had a game in America's soccer capital of St. Louis. It was USA versus Uzbekistan.
Nobody
and only
came.
About 15,000 people showed up, about half an MLS.
Because they asked for $100 a pop, right?
Exactly. People online were talking about St. Louis being disappointing. And I was like, no. This is a box I've been staring at for a while now. U.S. Soccer treats their tickets like diamonds, and people don't show up because they're not idiots. So, like, it's a friendly against Uzbekistan. People talking about how people aren't excited about Greg's return. I don't know how much that affected ticket sales or not.
That also seems true, though.
Possibly. I mean, Twitter was covered in no thank you
People
notes.
hate that guy. What has that guy done to deserve
Well,
that much hate?
Well, if you saw the game,
I did not.
you know why people hate him. But anyway, long story short, U.S. soccer again. Well, ever since Carlos Cordero was elected, and he was fired very shortly thereafter, by the way, for harassment, or he was canceled, or whatever the heck happened there. Ever since he was hired, all he did was just gouge the ticket prices, and he left. And the ticket prices never went down again. They just stayed high. And I'm like, come on now, go. But like, there is no reason, I'm getting mad now, that U.S. soccer can't sell out NFL Stadium every home game. U.S. soccer is a thing. The national team has support. It's a thing. Yet they're nickel and diming everybody, and they want their $100 tickets, and they're putting them in small stadiums.
They figured out they make more money if they sell fewer tickets at a higher cost. And
I don't know.
Yeah, then you're suffering. The atmosphere suffers. If you're like if you're a family of four and it's going to be $400 to go see Uzbekistan, like, yeah, you're not going to do that. It's too much.
I know, and that's not nonsense to me. I mean, they need to try. Like, they need to be like go to Chicago, put it at Soldier Field, and be very aggressive with your family of 4-packs for $80. You know, get aggressive. I'm sure if they sell out that stadium at the end of the day, it's a bigger profit margin. Am I wrong? Like 16,000 people paying $100 versus 80,000 people paying $20. What makes one makes more money than the other? I don't know. One maybe has a little more cost to it, but anyway, it's annoying that U.S. soccer with their A team, Christian Pulisic was there and Weston McKennie was there, but people weren't interested. They didn't go. And St. Louis, the old American soccer hotbed. Yet when St. Louis will play, that stadium is packed. They're all about their club, which is beautiful. When it comes to the national team, U.S. soccer, I mean, it should have been an easy sell, and you screwed up. So that's A. B, we played Uzbekistan. It was USA. It was Greg Berhalter's triumphant return. His first game back after a 9-month absence with the investigation and the signing the new contract and Matt Crocker coming in. And, you know, it took him 13 months to sign him once. It took him 9 months to sign him twice. So Greg Berhalter, but he's back. And so is Greggy Ball. And everyone on the Twitter sphere and the online sphere, and honestly, me included, were just saying how much we miss BJ. We miss BJ. BJ, the interim who took over after he left. And then what was the Kiwi who took over? What was his name?
Anthony Hudson.
Anthony Hudson. We missed Anthony Hudson. We missed BJ. And the reason that's interesting to me is because it's that because you asked that question, why the hate for Greg, right?
Excuse me.
Apusha. Gesundheit. You asked what the hatred for Greg is, right? You asked that. Is that the thesis?
Well, I mean, it's rhetorical. I understand I understand why people don't like him. I mean, I do. Yeah.
Well, I was about to offer an answer. What do you use? The X for thank you, Hans Wolf. X,
right.
Ridiculous.
We're not talking.
Couldn't Elon sidestep? Couldn't Elon have called it Twitter X at least? I mean, what the heck is this full rebrand nonsense? I don't think anyone's going to call it X. It's just going to be called Twitter from now on, right? Who the hell is going to stop calling it Twitter called X? Got one of the world's most recognizable brands, and then like one day it's like get rid of the brand. I like the letter X. Replace it with X.
Let's name it after a 80s LA punk band.
Well, every time you share a link, it's X.com. It's like that looks like a porn site.
Thank you, Hans. For Gesundheit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's talk Greg. So right away, Greg's first game back. This is let's try to answer it a little bit. Let's try to answer it. Let's try to get a little bit. Okay. Originally, the criticism I thought was always unwarranted because the big talk is everyone's like, oh, he's an MLS coach. MLS is trash. No MLS players, no MLS. Like there's a huge fan base that gives no value to MLS. Those people can all go screw off. I'm not interested in that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's A. However, and you know, over the years, we've been playing a certain type of soccer. It just seems like they're just weighed down. The players just weighed down by too many instructions. And then when he left and Anthony Hudson and BJ took over, two of the least accomplished coaches I can think of, the U.S. were playing much better all of a sudden. And I think it was because they just weren't really they were not overcoached. If I had to give a little bit of a analysis, it seems they were not overcoached. It was much simpler. They were just put out in the field. They expressed themselves, and it was nice. Like I noticed the freedom, and it was really nice. I was like, the U.S. is playing better than they've ever been playing. They won the tournament over the summer, and then they won the Nations League. They didn't win the Gold Cup. They won the Nations League. And despite not winning the Gold Cup, they still looked pretty good. And it was like, this looks nice.
They look good in the okay.
I mean, I have to go back and we didn't win the Gold Cup, so true. We didn't win. But overall, there was like a freedom to how we played. And BJ, and with the Nations League, it was the summer of BJ. BJ won over the U.S. fans. He's still there. He was on the broadcast. He's an assistant. But anyway, Greg is back, and right away, we're right back to Greggy ball. All right, the U.S. players against Uzbekistan, ranked 74th. I recognize none of their players. I recognize none of their clubs, much less their players. It's a very obscure.
Why are they
national
playing
team.
Uzbek?
I
What
don't know,
is
Bjorn.
that?
The original plan was they were supposed to play Brazil and Argentina.
But then CONMEBOL is starting.
CONMEBOL starts, so those fell through.
So then it was like, I guess we'll call Dmitry in Uzbekistan. He'll send his dudes.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know where the Uzbekistan Oman came from. I'm not totally against it. The U.S. doesn't travel well. They should be playing teams from other confederations. And people justify it by saying that the World Cup in the U.S. could be 48 teams. So there's going to be all sorts of types of teams, including Uzbekistan.
Not Uzbekistan.
Yeah, yeah, he's the ranked 74th. So.
I mean, my predictions are bad, but I'm going to make that prediction.
Well, it's funny, though, you do bring that up because apparently with the new expansion, South America only got one extra slot, which blows my mind. Like, there used to be 5.5, now it's 6.5. And I'm like, what? South America, if it's going to be 48 teams, give them 7 or 8.5. I don't know. But that's neither here nor there. 16 extra slots, and South America only got one of them. I mean, where are the other slots going? But anywho, so Uzbekistan, USA versus Uzbekistan. Okay, we came out swinging. Weston McKennie with a really cool takedown in the box. He grabbed the ball and shuffled around some players. Really cool work from Weston McKennie. And then passing it over to Timo Weah to slam it in the back of the net. Really cool goal. 4th minute, Timo Weah, 1-0. I'm like, here we go. Here we go, USA. And then for the next 85 minutes, nothing. It was just futzing around the midfield. And then Pulisic back to his hero ball again. Greg's strategy forces Pulisic to play hero ball. And it's as much of a failure now as it was 3 years ago. That'll never succeed. Pulisic just gets stripped right away. And then Uzbekistan holding
and that's
tight.
great. Well, okay.
Well, the Uzbekistan almost scoring on the counter. They just aren't built to break down a team like that. And Greg is implying the strategy, and Tim Ream described their strategy on his podcast or on an interview. Pretty much he said they're focusing on playing a certain way. And they're trying to play a certain way by drawing out certain players to create space. And, he offered an explanation as to why that's how they play that way. And the players have bought into it. But they've been doing that for 3 years now. 3.5. And it still begs the question that in a national team program where players come and go and you only have a couple of days with the players every couple of months, like, does it make sense to have these does it make sense to have these how do I call it? Does it make sense to overcoach your team? Does it make sense to over strategize how you play? And like this is an example of where it's like, no, we just don't. I mean, I know he's new, but he's not new. This should be the continuance of what's been going on for 3-4 years now. And we got a couple of lucky goals right at the end there to make it a 3-0 result, but the 3-0 result was not an accurate description of what happened. Uzbekistan almost got an equalizer. I mean, it could have easily been a 1-1 game against Uzbekistan at home in front of 16,000 of St. Louis's hardest score fans. So that's my proposition. That's what I'm saying about why there's a lot of Greg hate. They can see he's being overcoached. They can see the teams being overcoached, rather. They can see that. What's your take on the Greg Berhalter hate?
Well, I didn't watch this game. So I don't know. I think, I mean, you know my take. I think the Greg Berhalter hate is irrational. I think he gets blamed. He gets blamed for everything. Everything, the good that happens is because of the amazing players, and everything bad that happens is because Greg is terrible. And I think he's the most success. I think by all statistical measures, he's the most successful coach. Do I think he's like he's like the greatest coach in the history of coaches? No, I think, there's no perfect coach, and he has. I mean, if you look at the World Cup, I think there are some things that you can criticize him for. I don't think he's like I said, I don't think he's the perfect guy, but the level of hate, I think the amount of vitriol he faces is not rational. That's not based on, and I think I respect that you have a take on it that's, I guess, at least informed by what you're seeing in a way. But I think the basic thing is just like, we have this great generation of players, and we should be winning every game by double digits, and the reason we're not doing that is because we have this terrible coach. And I think that's nonsense. I think the player pool is not as good as people make it out to be, and I think Greg is fine. I think Greg has done a good job overall, I would say, from a totally outside non-fan perspective. I think he is. I think people appreciate the team. Internationally, I think after the World Cup, there was he earned a lot of praise from a lot of people for really transforming the program. But around here, he doesn't get any credit for anything. It's everything. He's just terrible, and that's it. And I guess
Well, in general, I do feel that the hardest critic should come from your home country. We'll talk about Germany later in a bit, but like, who's going to criticize? Like, the country is the hardest. You should be your own hardest critic. So you're right in the fact that at the World Cup, it was like our coming out party, and the World Cup is a showcase where everybody gets to see everybody.
Well,
they look at the U.S. and they're like, "Hey, the U.S. is pretty good," and they did okay.
But
it makes you.
Well, and I think, again, I've said this a bunch of times. So it's like he took that program really from absolute zero and made it respectable, and also sort of transformed it from we're underdogs, we defend hard and hope for the best on a counterattack, to a pretty progressive, possessing team, which is not an easy thing to do successfuli. So that's my take.
He did what Klinsmann said he would do.
I mean, exactly. Like, you compare him to Klinsmann now in Korea making a fool of himself. It's like, it's not even, if you compare. I guess it's the other thing. It's like, who do these people think? Who do all these Greg, like, who do you? You've said before you wanted David Moyes or Roy Hodgson or a crusty English guy. Okay, which I don't know if
Julian Lopetegui.
Julian Lopetegui is the next name you're throwing in the ring.
Well, he was up for the job. He was out. He wanted it. He was out of contract. His name
Oh.
was linked to the job. But I'm not. But going back to that talk, I'm not. I didn't like custom pick them out of nowhere. I just figured it's time for a senior, experienced. Like I would love Carlo Ancelotti. You know, like a senior, experienced,
Sure, yeah.
proven European coach. So David Moyes is that. I know.
I think
he's
Carlo
not
Ancelotti
Pep Guardiola,
Carlo Ancelotti would be great, but
but,
yeah, is he available? And we don't know. But it's not.
he's not.
Well,
Brazil
Patrick
snapped him up.
Vieira might have been worth.
Nah,
Yeah, I'm not saying like, oh, there could never be anyone better than. I mean, that's obviously it's not what I'm saying at all. I think there's things to criticize. There's for any coach. I think I do feel sorry for him on some level. I don't think he deserves this level of hatred. People in my group chat are saying they're going to boycott the next World Cup if Berhalter is still the coach. I'm like, why? What has he done? What has he done? What has he done to make you this mad? Like, I don't.
I thought your group chat was a bunch of Euro snobs. Are the MLS folk in there?
No, this is not. There's no. I mean, this is a different. Well, there's a couple.
There's a few different. This is the least Euro snobby group chat. All right.
This is also pretty. This is pretty Euro snobby too.
Well, but that also could be from the whole like he's an MLS coach. They're inferior people or whatever.
It's unclear why he's so reprehensible. To me, it's unclear. But
to me, it's a little clearer. Let's put it that way. Now, granted, I'm not, like you said, like my.
It's also
my
the small. It's a small
rational.
sample size. It's like you have. I mean, the team played overall quite well in the World Cup. I thought.
Let's talk about that.
And now he's back. They're playing a friendly against Uzbekistan. Who gives a shit? Like they win 3-0. I mean, I didn't see it. But again, you might got to be looking. You got to be looking to be mad. If this sets you off in any kind of meaningful way, this is like it's a meaningless game. And you're like saying, "Oh, I don't know. The interim coaches did it better." Yeah. Okay.
Here's another topic of discussion, which is related to the interim coaches. It took forever for Spain to win a World Cup. Do you know why it took forever for Spain to win a World Cup?
You're going to tell me.
Because they refused to play anything other than the way they wanted to play. They were very committed to playing how they played. Zubizarreta, what's his name? He was like a legendary Spanish goalkeeper. He has like 200 caps for the national team or something like that. He said that in an interview specifically. He's like, we play the way we want to play. We want to hold the ball. We want to play a beautiful way. We refuse to sacrifice that to win. And they eventually did win, and they won so beautifully, and they had that great golden generation. They won the Euros, the World Cup, and the Euros, 3 big tournaments in a row, and they did it their way, and they're still doing it their way. So here at the U.S., we criticize Greggy ball, we criticize Pulisic hero ball, we criticize the way we play.
But how is it
Greg Berhalter?
Pulisic... Okay, no, I'll let you finish.
Well, Greg Berhalter is all about those results. He won the Gold Cup. He won the Nations League. But it was sloppy. Mexico had the ball. Mexico looked a little more dominant. We kind of got away with a couple of those there. And right now, for under Greg, they're playing like they're doing calculus on the field. And we can see that. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just, I'm not saying it's wrong. I think if it excels, then so be it. But it's been a few years. And we've never excelled under him. It always feels like we're only going 75% under him. It always feels like there's a certain freedom that's missing, and a certain, I don't know. And as a fan and as a national team program, aren't we allowed to make a choice that we prefer to play a certain way, and the results be damned until we play the way we want to play?
But it's also like this is assuming that under Klinsmann or Bruce Arena the team always looked great or had like some other, like you're comparing. I think this is the other thing that sort of makes me smile maybe about all of this is that you're not comparing this to reality or to how they used to play or how things. It's like you're comparing it to some kind of fantasy that you have of like what it could be. And I think that's unfair. It's like no team always plays beautifully. Like Man City survive some games. They're not, they're not like, or some people say like they're boring or they play sort of mechanical and like, I mean, I don't know. Those kinds of things are sort of, yeah. I think there's a confirmation bias. Like people don't. I think it's not like you're watching the game and then you're like, oh, I really don't like Greg. It's like people hate Greg for whatever reason, and then they look for reasons why. I think,
it's hard to explain.
The hatred comes first for whatever reason.
I do believe that in a lot of cases, but it's hard to explain. I mean, I guess under Bruce and under Klinsmann, I was less impressed under Klinsmann, to be honest. Definitely the second half of his tenure. But under Bob and under Bruce, we were a hardworking counterattacking team. We were great at set pieces. And I guess Bruce looked better.
Bruce missed the World Cup
his second time around. But
they look good. Look good then.
They look decent. When Bruce took over, that's a whole other talk. Bruce only had 8 games, and literally for 7 games, they were looking great, and they're about to go to the World Cup. But then they lost to Costa Rica at home, which essentially was the nail in the coffin. And then, of course, Kova. Those were 2 bad games under Bruce. Of course, I'm not going to say that did happen. But they looked like his first game back was a 6-0 home win over like Panama or something. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. I think it's interesting. You bring up a good point because it's like, I hope what's going on is we're having growing pains. And this advanced strategy of positional play and manipulating the other team to come out of position, all that crap that they've been doing for a while now is still in process and will work a certain way. That'll make us what I used to see was a simpler team. And it was not, I don't know, I guess I'm an idiot. I like it simpler. And we're not Barcelona. We're a hardworking, counterattacking, working class team. And this new crop of players is fancier, but maybe they need less coaching. Let's say maybe our old way of doing things is our identity. Maybe that's it. The other thing I want to talk about is the World Cup. It was interesting because, like you said, he took that team and turned them into a possession-based team. But the results were not any different than what Klinsmann or Bruce Arena or Bob did. Bruce did better. Bob and Klinsmann did the same. And I guess the style of play was a little bit easier in the eye, but maybe that's a red herring. Because against Holland, we had the ball, but we didn't have any chances. Louis van Gaal looked probably one video session, read right through our tactics, and is like countered with being like, done. Oh, no problemo. We can take care of it this way. Just let them have the ball, hold on the counter, like be more, And Holland had our number, right? 3-1. Versus 8 years prior, the 1-0 against Belgium. Belgium had the ball the whole time. Tim Howard to make 14 saves. However, we went in overtime. It was a tighter game. If Chris Wondolowski scored at the death, we would have won. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I'm wondering if the whole possession stuff and the way they're playing under Greg is a little bit of a red herring. And maybe his tactics are too easy to read into from a team of any sort of substance. They work poorly against small teams because they're not built. They're too complicated. And they work poorly against great teams because for them, they're too simple. I don't know. That's just what I think about. I'm not guaranteeing that's the case, but it's something I think about moving forward with Greg over the next few years. So, I don't know. Also, as simple as we want something fresh, and U.S. Soccer refuses to fire people. The only way coaches get rid of is if we don't make the World Cup, or that's about it. Other than that, they're there forever. Sexual harassment claims be damned. Or not sexual abuse claims be damned.
It's hard to imagine.
What is your kitty cat thing?
Who knows?
What is your kitty cat thing? Get it to meow on. Is that Nanette?
Hello, Nanette. It's Nanette.
Nanette heard Greg, and she's like, you know what?
What do you think
I
about
need to
Greg
talk to you guys
Berhalter?
about Greggy Ball. Are you going to watch the mighty Oman game to see if there's any
Oh
improvement?
yeah, I might. Yeah, why not? I mean, I like to. Um, sure, I'll watch it.
Sure. Anyway, that's
mean,
U.S. soccer talk. I mean, what? That's just U.S. soccer talk. That's
yeah.
just my thoughts. Greggy's back.
What?
He's instilling
But we don't
strategy.
have the real answer we need that we're not going to get, and no one knows, but we really would like to know. What did Bruce Arena say?
What did Bruce Arena say?
What did Bruce Arena say?
It's so Shakespearean. Greg Berhalter talked about Bruce Arena. He was his assistant. He played on him for a long time. Greg Berhalter offered the same thing Gustavo Bo and his players were offering. He just says, I don't know what happened, but Bruce is a great guy, an amazing coach, and a great family, and a man of great character.
So okay, well, keep talking.
The reason it's so Shakespearean is because the little nugget we have learned recently
right
is that Richie Williams filed the complaint. Richie Williams is one of Bruce's oldest, bestest assistants, so much so that when he was fired from the New York Red Bulls for sexual harassment or whatever he was fired for, he I don't remember what he was fired for, but it was something serious.
Wait,
he was like let go of something.
You shouldn't say that if that's not
all
what
right,
it is.
Maybe I'm going to take that back. But he was dismissed at the Red Bulls. Maybe, I don't know, Seba S, maybe you were around then. Something happened with him at the Red Bulls, and he was dismissed in a way where it was like, he can't get another job again. But Bruce is like, no, that's my boy. I'm bringing him along. And then Bruce took him, and then he kept.
But then something went wrong between the two of them.
Something went wrong between the two of them, and what we've learned is that Richie Williams filed a complaint.
But we also learned that Richie Williams's contract was not going to be renewed, right?
Maybe is that what
I
we
think
learned?
that's what we learned. That him and Kurt Onalfo, I believe, were both their tenure was gonna end by the end of the season, whereas Bruce had an extension.
Yeah, but those are Bruce's boys. They would have extended with him.
No, something. Oh, I'm sorry. Something went wrong there because they were not getting extended, and so I think this was
retaliation a little
perhaps.
Tactics.
Yeah, I mean we're just speculating here, but that seems to be what's been going on. So Shakespearean, I think, is correct. I think, but a lot of
Caesar.
A lot of people.
I almost named this episode E2 Bruce, but
that's very funny.
But I did not.
Yeah, and if we want to put our conspiracy hats on,
please, we always do.
If Kale and Kyle came out,
right,
and said something, sort of speculated, or she said, "Oh, he said some."
She's been banned, by the way.
And she has been suspended. Yes, that's what I was going to say. She's been suspended. She said she said like, well, he said something, or she sort of alluded to the fact that he had said certain things, and then
racially sensitive. Right?
Racially sensitive.
She said racial slur.
And then she had to retract that. The next day, she was like, "Oh, I didn't know. I spoke flippantly," and then since then she has not been on Apple TV. They suspended her for speaking about this, I guess, or saying things that she wasn't supposed to say.
How do you think I feel about that, Bjorn? What is my high horse?
This is you're going to refer to the state-run media of
Bingo.
MLS. Yeah,
bingo. It's like
we're not gonna. Yeah, and in this case,
she's
in
media,
this
right?
case, I agree with you. Not that I generally don't agree with you, but
she's media. She should be allowed. She's media.
She's a journalist, but she works for She works for the. Well, I mean,
the league wanted to keep it quiet. So
I guess if she, there's two different kinds of offense here. Like if she doesn't know what she's talking about and she's just assuming, she's just speculating, and says these things just sort of out of like, well, that's what it's got to be. That is poor. That's poor She should not do that. If that's,
I agree, but is a full
but if
suspension
she's
just an apology? She
saying
tried to retract
right,
the next day.
right. Well,
In
I
my
mean,
opinion,
I
that should
guess
be
it's
enough.
like,
And then, I don't know.
but that's like, I mean, you're accusing somebody of something that you don't really have any knowledge of. That's not great, and deserves some kind of consequence, I guess. If she knows stuff and she just sort of was like, oh, I guess I wasn't supposed to say it, then that speaks more to what you're talking about, the state-run media. And yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. We're never going to know. Bruce Arena now resigned. He said he's made he alluded to having made mistakes. I've made mistakes, and Richie Williams. And he's soul searching. Richie Williams is now in charge, right? Is he going to keep the job? We don't know, but
E2 Bruce.
I mean, it's weird. The whole thing is weird.
Richie Williams and Kurt Arnolfo are not good soccer coaches. Bruce gave them jobs and gave them a career, but Kurt Arnolfo, I think, on two occasions was a head coach.
If they would be interim coaches for the U.S. men's national team, you'd like them more than Greg Berhalter, I bet.
Maybe, especially Kurt. And they both. I think Richie was a U20 coach. He was for the youth coaching system. Only because they would undercoach the team by default because they don't have much to offer.
This is the theory, right? Less coaching is better sometimes.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. These boys are smart. I mean, Greg Berhalter is a.
I mean, the Pulisic thing. I should have said this earlier, but like the Pulisic thing, is that Greg's fault? Greg told him like, "Oh, dribble into traffic every time," or is that just Pulisic coming back from Milan? Coming back from
under Greg.
But it could also be like, Pulisic is now confident again after having some good games in Milan and just reverting back to his old.
It's based on the strategy they play. I think the way they want to play is as a team is supposed to pull people out of position, and Christian Pulisic is supposed to go in the back. So he does it over and over again. It fails over and over again. It becomes hero ball. I mean, it's got to be the case.
That's what I'm saying. It's everything that's bad. Everything that's good is the players. Everything that's bad is Greg.
I just calls it as I sees it, man. I would love for Christian Pulisic to beat 5 guys in a row, but that's never going to happen. So if as Greg, as the head coach, has to be like, we need to figure out how to stop this. We need to figure out how to have 2 or 3 players play some 1-2s on the left side as a team. It's the coach. It's up. Yeah, I don't know. If it's like fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, right? So it's been happening over and over again for like the last 2 or 3 years. Something's got to give. I don't know what's going on, but if I'm the head coach, that's on me to fix. So that's what I got to say about that.
I'm sorry I dragged you back there.
I mean, Energy Cottbus legend Greg Berhalter instilling strategy over AC Milan's Christian Pulisic is very interesting.
Pulling rank here. Wow.
I'm not mad he's an MLS coach. I'm mad he's an Energy Cottbus
Energy Cottbus. It's the MLS is fine. It's the Cottbus that really that's damning.
Both of his German clubs are now in the 4th division, by the way. They were in the 2nd division when he played.
That's because he poisoned them years ago when he was there. He planted his poison into those clubs, which is why they subsequently then got relegated multiple times. Long after he left, because he had planted his poisonous seed.
That guy said wrong thing. Talk to Hammerby about their experiences with how amazing they went. Anyway, so Bruce did resign, soul searching, Rich taking over,
and that's how they're going to end it. We just want to know. We just want to know what he said. Please, just tell us what he said.
This is literally. I don't know about you. I know I don't know what he said, but I'm just like, what? Because he's treated like Greg Berhalter beat his wife and did not lose his job. Right? It's true. I just said a factual thing. Okay.
Am
I wrong?
He didn't beat her. But I mean, it was okay.
A long time ago.
I don't feel that strongly about the guy. Like, I'm constantly put in a position to defend him.
He got the job. Like it didn't lead him to losing his job, which is whatever. I understand. People make mistakes. So now I'm very curious.
That was
what Bruce
30,
Arena
as Hans Wolf points out correctly, that was 37 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. That bruise never healed properly. Anyway, what I'm saying is like, what I'm saying is, what did Bruce say that gave him a worse fate and a worse punishment than physical abuse on someone?
Hans Wolf is making me laugh.
He backhanded her when they were young. He kicked her in the parking lot, I thought.
Backhanded her. I don't know why that's so funny to me.
I mean, it's a gross joke. It's like, I won't say it. There's a gross joke. I'm not going to say it. It's not apropos. Anyway, but yeah, whatever happened a long time ago, they went through. It was very private. It's a shame it went out in the public, but it went out in the public. It's a thing, and they made an investigation. And U.S. Soccer has decided that it doesn't matter. He's still going to be employed, right? So which is fine. I like it was a thorough process. There you go. So it makes me wonder what Bruce said, and all the stuff Bruce has said publicly in the past. He's so inclusive, and he always seems to say good stuff. I don't know.
No, he's had some. He got suspended before for going after a referee very aggressively. I mean, that's not true. It's not like he doesn't have a temper. Bruce, he definitely has a. He's got a mouth on him. I think that's been
what makes it a private investigation with an outside law firm that you can't talk about.
They should tell us.
Fire your media,
especially
bring it up.
when we in the case of Dante Van Zier, in the end, he just said monkey to a white person. Monkey business to.
Yeah. And he got 6 weeks.
So it's like, we just want to know.
I in my head, I'm thinking of the worst things he's ever said, and I'm like, that should be an I'm sorry, I was angry. It should be an apology, and you're back. Anywhere else, it would not be a thing. In the Bundesliga, if it happens in the Bundesliga all the time, by the way, they say way worse stuff, and they have to maybe do an apology.
How do you know? How do we know it's worse if we don't know what he said? Anyway,
the Schalke director. You remember what he said about African players?
Yeah. No, we don't have to. You're right. Yes.
Did he get any sort of punishment? He was eventually voted out later at the elections, but he didn't get any punishment at that all. I don't even think he apologized. There's no way Bruce said what he said. You know what I'm saying? Even if he did say what he said, which is involving the terrible racial philosophy. A, that's not how he thinks. And B, even if he said that, he should be able to apologize. We should say it all out loud. He should get a punishment, and the player should sort of decide what happens next. I hate what this was. The whole nothing happened. He disappeared. They just disappeared someone, and
nobody knows. Why. Everybody's like, "What happened?" Yeah, and we're not gonna know. Anyway,
thumbs down in the process. Let's do a little chat catch up. All right, let's go up here. $96. I was at the game. So you're at the Messi game. Hard to watch because the Inter Miami fans are the plastic fans. We lost 2-0. It was like, why am I?
Oh, this is from 2 weeks ago. This is from 2 weeks.
Well, he's talking about giving up his season tickets.
Well, he wants to sell. He wants to sell his Inter Miami tickets, right? I'm assuming.
No, New York Red Bulls next year. I'm selling my ticket. Oh yeah, for the Inter Miami game.
I think that's how I'm rating it.
Well, you're probably right. We'll see how popular Messi is by next year. I'm assuming it'll.
I'm sure he'll still be. People will still like him.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, you get your $700. Red Bull out. We want Metro Stars back. We want a local owner billionaire actually cares about the team. Amen, brother. But I want to keep that stadium in Harrison, of course. Metro Stars area, 100%. Local business owner, Hans Wolf, local business owner.
They should start. I didn't like the Metro Stars name either. They should just find something else.
No, Metros, just the Metros. The whole point of that,
Cosmos,
the Metro. The whole point of that is because it's the New York metropolitan area. They are the Metros,
right.
It fixes their branding. That's what they're called. We also want our black and red back. I got my black and red Red Bulls jersey on today. We were the original black and red before we rebranded and Atlanta came in and took our black and red. Poor Greg Bearstopper. Poison, backhander, and whistles. Okay, cool. So we did have a little MLS action over the weekend. Neither of our teams played.
No.
But LAFC played, and they are considered, as Andrew Wiebe, I believe, tweeted, they are a shadow of their former selves since they lost.
Shadow. Since what happened?
Since they lost to Leon in the MLS in the CONCACAF Cup final. And they're right. They are pretty hit or miss these days. They're pretty hit or miss these days. They struggled against Inter Miami last week. Inter Miami did not struggle without Messi this weekend. That was sort of the big, I guess.
It's not that they didn't, but they did win.
They won 3-1 at
3-2.
What was the game? They won
3-2 against Kansas City
at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they still, but the old Messi lifted the team so much that when he left, they're still winning. Now, granted, Busquets and Alba are still on the field. It's not like everybody's gone.
Yeah.
But Cremaschi's gone.
Busquets.
Messi's gone.
Yeah, they scored a goal on the quick restart. That was a little dubious.
Yeah, I didn't like that. Right? Because
I don't know if the ref is talking to the. Yeah, I don't know if you're. Yeah, that seems. It seemed a little unfair, perhaps.
It was a little tricky, but
it was a little. I mean, you understand, but it was.
But if the ref doesn't call it, then
that's
a goal.
it. Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, this is in the refs, and I guess you play to the whistle, blah blah blah. You can't. I mean, it was a pretty poor defending, however you want to put it. But yeah, anyway, they did win, and I'm probably going to be proven wrong about them not making the playoffs because Messi has elevated everyone to the point that he doesn't even need to be there, and they have improved dramatically. So yeah, they've almost caught up with our two sorry ass teams and still have games in hand, right, over both of us.
Yeah, I give it 1 week.
So it's
by next Schnitzel Boys episode, Inter Miami will be looking down on our two teams.
Well, one of our two teams will get some points. At least one of our two teams will get some points this weekend. We can't both lose, so.
Well, we both tie. We both tie.
But that would still keep at least one of us ahead. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. I guess not necessarily. If Miami wins again, they're going to pass both of us unless one of us finds a way to win this derby.
I think they're 2 games in hand over you, right? I predict NYCFC winning over the weekend.
What?
Yeah.
Excuse me, what? It sounded like you said you predict NYCFC winning this weekend.
I did. It's time. It's due. What was the last time you beat us? 14 years ago, something like that?
Tati Castellanos got a hat trick. That was the last one, right?
It's in New York. Red Bulls kind of are like they lost to 4-1 to Philly. They lost to New England Revolution without Bruce Arena. The spirit, I think, is on its deathbed with the New York Red Bulls right now. And I think you will be able to capitalize on that over the weekend.
That'd be good.
I mean, it'll probably just be a 1-1 tie or something, but I don't know. It's a lame duck game. What's your
prediction? I definitely feel like this has tie written all over it.
Scoreless, perchance?
Oh my god, that'd be that's. I mean, that wouldn't be so odd because we have both of our teams have been better defensively than offensively.
Yeah, we don't have goal scorers. Yeah, our XG is like 0.05. It'll be 0.05 versus 0.07. Scoreless draw. Have fun at the game.
We had a question. I was thinking if we have another minute, I guess we're already here.
We don't. We're 15 minutes past.
Well, all right. Well,
what's your question? 60 seconds.
No,
60
I was gonna talk about. I just had something to say about Thales Magno. It's just an interesting because I mean, he's according to Transfermarkt, he's the 5th most valuable player of MLS, which
of the whole league. Yeah, that's
of the whole league. Yeah. And he also, and this came up because now the league releases their 22 under 22 list of the best young players in the league. And a lot of people have Thales Magno high on their list for that as well. And so, and this then led to some head scratching among NYCFC. It's like, so what's the deal? He's like, he's the only one on both of those lists, on like highest valued transfer market MLS players, plus being under 22. So you would think, oh, that makes him a very special player. Now, meanwhile, he hasn't even come off the bench. He hasn't played in a while. He has he's scored 2 goals and 2 assists all year. He hasn't scored since April. So is he good or is he not? Like, what is this?
He was dropped, right? Was he dropped for anything off field? Do you think, or is it just all on field performances?
We haven't heard. I mean, him and Maxime Chenot got into it at some point. Maxime Chenot is now in Corsica. I don't know. We don't know what's going on. Obviously, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but Nick Cushing doesn't think he can. He says, when asked about Thales, he says, he picks the team that he thinks has the best chance to win games. So how can you be so valuable if your coach doesn't think you can help win games? It's like, it's a mystery.
Yeah. I wonder if him and Elias Manuel are roommates. And they're like, isn't it cool that we're highly ineffective young
players? We are highly that we're bad.
Yeah.
It's just, and I guess time will tell what happens to. Is it the coach's fault? Is he just, or maybe he's just a bust?
They wake up in the morning. They're like, remind me. Is it before they go in the game? They take a piece of paper out, and it's a picture of a goal, and there's an arrow that points inside the goal. And he's like, yes, inside the goal, not outside the goal, inside the goal, inside the goal.
Yeah, maybe that's what we need.
Daniel Young,
but it's like it's a thing that it's. I guess what this made me think of is that MLS doesn't have that much money, and we can't afford to lose on these highly valued, because Thales cost like 10 million or something. Yeah. I mean, it was at the time he was a little overshadowed by Ezekiel Barquio and people who were much more expensive, who also didn't really do anything. And so yeah, that's the thing to remember. Like, these young players, they don't all work out. It's not automatic. Like, if you're valued highly at 18, that doesn't mean that you're still highly valuable at 21. Like, the expectation is you're going to get better and better. And if you're not, then so we'll see. We'll see what happens with Thales. Interesting.
Yeah, Columbus did some really weird business, I felt, over the summer. They got rid of, was it Zilla Rayan?
Rayan, he went to
Qatar
Saudi.
or something, or Saudi Arabia, or Qatar, one of those two.
Way too cheap. How much did they get for him?
They sold him for $3 million. They sold him at cost to Saudi Arabia or Qatar. It doesn't matter. They have blank checks over there. So I would have been like 10 million.
We turned them down. I mean, they asked me to play striker, and I said no, I don't have time.
Oh yeah, but that was for the police league over there. But anyway. So one last thing. Daniel Young hopes that NYCFC fans don't take the L train this weekend. I mean, they must, right? Where is it at? Where is it? Yankee or is it MetLife?
He means he means he hopes we don't lose.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
They asked if they fill up the L train.
The L train does not go to Yankee Stadium. We don't take the L train. This is a metaphor. Daniel Young is saying
he's hoping actual L train.
He's hoping we don't. He's hoping we don't lose.
One of the worst experiences of my train life was after the Red Wedding, after 7-0. I took the A train down, and all the NYCFC fans, the hooligans, they pulled the emergency brake on the subway, which you never do. And the subway stopped all of a sudden, and we were underground for 45 minutes to an hour during an investigation to figure out which of those dang hooligans pulled the dang lever, and it was very annoying. Anyway,
Hunt says we want to be on the W
train, which is also a real train, right? The L and the W trains are two real
neither
trains.
of which go to Yankee Stadium.
All right,
we're speaking metaphorically.
All right, that has been the USA Hour. We got a bunch of exciting new stuff to talk about in the Germany Hour.
We're gonna promise we'll make it shorter. Come to the Deutschland Hour. We're gonna make it shorter.
We'll see. We'll see about that. I do have a whole brand new segment.
Oh no.
We'll see. Anyway, tschüss. Bis nächste Woche. Hop in the Germany Hour. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Merch. Buy
Etsy.
them mugs.
Schnitzel Boys on Etsy.
Schnitzel Boys. All right.
The
tschüss.
hoodies.
Hoodies. Tschüss.
Fall is coming. Hoodie.